Welcome to Sexy Mom Abundant Life with best-selling author and coach Kathy Williams, a show to help you tap into the support of the universe and access the abundance that's available in every area of your life. Listen in for conversations and tools to create more ease, joy, and possibility with family, relationships, business, and living. Kathy's joyful perspective will help you tap into your own wisdom and create a life of presence and abundance your way. Listen live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, or anytime on iTunes or at IOM FM.
Welcome to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. This is Kathy Williams, and I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you also for sending in your ideas for the radio show. Today's topic, it has been requested by a bunch of people, so I do follow through on your ideas. It might not always be right away, but I do take them into consideration. So I'm so grateful for you listening and for those of you who are willing to write in to me, whether it's at meetkathywilliams.com or on Facebook and Instagram and all the other places. I'm out there at Kathy Jones Williams. That's my full name. And I love to hear from you. I truly do. So before we dive into today's topic, which is 5 tips to make parenting easier, something like that. That's what we're going to talk about. I don't know the exact name. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about me and the fact that I'm not just on the radio every Thursday. I am from Maui, Hawaii, although not originally. And I have 2 boys who keep me quite busy. One of them is almost 10 and the other will be 7 next week. So I've definitely been through the ringer in terms of making myself wrong in regard to parenting, and you can read about that. I'm an author. You can read about that in the book called Possibilities in Parenting. It's actually quite a funny story, the ways that I made myself wrong and the intensity it created in my world. So we can talk about that a little bit today. And beyond being a mother, an author, a radio host, I facilitate people all around the world. So I have some online classes, pretty much at least one a month. I have one this afternoon called Flirting 101, which may not be what you think it is. We did a show on that in February that was just so much fun. So you can look that up in the archives of OMTimes Radio or on YouTube or SoundCloud. It's out there. And I have a money class tomorrow, actually. We're having so much fun with money because people have a lot of stuck points of view about it around, modeling what their parents did or thinking, well, I'm not good with money, therefore I shouldn't have it, or all these different viewpoints that really lock up and limit our lives. So I did a class last week and we'll do one tomorrow called The Willingness to Have Money, and that's online. You can find all of these and the in-person classes on Maui and London, Vienna, and Colorado at meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. Okay, so let's dive in. And that's also where you can get a free money rain exercise, which is really fun, and a create your life exercise. I get lots of messages from people. Kathy, I listen to this every day. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever done for myself. So check that out. It's on the website. It's totally free. And if you're interested in a private session, you can check that out on the site as well. And I'd love to hear from you. So let's dive in now. I was kind of contemplating where to begin with this. And the first tool I'm going to share with you is destroying and uncreating your relationship every day, your relationship with your kids. And this is an access consciousness tool. I'm a facilitator of access consciousness. And I remember the day I used this with my son. I had a baby at the time and then my other son. And the day I used it was memorable for me because our relationship totally changed. So why would you destroy and uncreate your relationship with anyone? Well, what we're really doing when we do that is letting go of all the walls of separation, all the expectations we have of each other, all the projections and rejections and what we've decided the relationship is. And when you let go of all of that, what happens is it creates a space which you can allow the relationship to show up in a totally different way without all those projections, expectations, without the past kind of superimposed on the future. So the first time I used this with my son was he was probably four, something like that. And as I said, our relationship totally changed. I stopped feeling like his servant after I used this clearing. And I'm going to use the Access Consciousness clearing statement. So it is, okay, destroy and uncreate my relationship with my son. Okay, my son's name is Bodhi. And then this is the clearing statement. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Right? You could just say, one of the things that a lot of people are using now is just collapse all of that back to source energy. And it's pretty amazing what it does to let all that go. As I said, I stopped being his servant. Our relationship changed. We had a freedom. I had the freedom to say, actually, honey, you're big enough now. You can get your own water, right? I don't need to serve you, which I had the freedom to do previously. However, I didn't. So, what you can do is destroy and uncreate your relationship with anyone on a daily basis. So with your children, with your partner, with your business, with your family, all of it. Just destroy and uncreate all of it so that it can show up as it would like to, with fresh eyes, without the past superimposed on it. And there's such a space that opens up when you're willing to do that. And it's simple, right? It's not a hard thing to do. Okay, destroy and uncreate everything my relationship with my husband is right now. Destroy and uncreate my relationship with my kids. Let me allow it to show up in a totally different way. And then you can use the clearing statement or collapse it all back to energy. And that brings us to tool number 2. And if you have any questions about any of this, please let me know. Because we can always dive in deeper. There's always somewhere more to go with this, right? So let me know on my website. Let me know on, in the comments where you see these shows posted. Because if you have questions, chances are someone else has questions too. And questions are actually such a beautiful thing to use with children, and we're going to explore them and talk about them in a few minutes. The next key I would love for you to remember is that your children, just as you are infinite beings, which means they have their own awareness, their own wisdom, their own capacity to be and to know and to receive and to sense, and that encouraging them to tap into their own awareness is a huge gift to them and to you, because it's going to make your life so much easier. I'll give you an example of this. All right. My other son is named Koa, and when Koa was a wee one, he must have been 2. He had a stuffy nose. And I said to them, okay, most people conclude like, oh, he's got a cold. When we go into any conclusion, we actually solidify things, right? Which is why a lot of times I say collapse it back to energy, because you've solidified that energy as a thing. Quantum physics talks about this, right? We've taken a point of view. We've solidified it there. So, I didn't conclude that he had a cold. Even though he had this stuffy nose, he was all snotty and boogery and stuff. And I actually asked him, okay, honey, what is that? What can you do with it? And he said, give it to the earth. And I was like, what? Give it to the earth. What, honey? Give it to the earth? And then he said, the ground. And I was like, you would like to give this energy to the earth. So I said, okay, let's do that. Let's give this energy that's in your body to the ground. So he did, and the next day he did not have any boogers. He was completely normal again, healthy again. And so if I had solidified that as a cold, right? I said, oh, honey, you have a cold. Well, there are projections and expectations, and kids are super duper aware. We'll talk about that more. Kids are, and we're super duper aware. However, a lot of times we aren't willing to recognize that. I did a whole show on awareness a couple weeks ago on Sexy Mom Abundant Life, and you can find that on YouTube. And so I didn't solidify that as a cold, and it takes 2 weeks, and you need echinacea and chicken soup and blah, blah, blah. Instead, we just recognized it as energy and asked, what can you do with it? And he knew. He knew exactly what to do with it. I didn't have to tell him. Right? So, asking your kids questions. Like, what do you know about this? I ask that all the time. Like, my kids will say, Mom, what's this? Or how do you do that? And I say, what do you know about that? Because a lot of times they know, and they're just looking for that validation. Or, what most of us are trained, how I grew up, is you look to someone else as the expert. That's useful sometimes. Yeah, a lot of times when we do that, we invalidate our own knowing, what we know about it, what we're aware. And we invalidate that in favor of somebody else and somebody else's point of view and what somebody else knows. So one of the really useful things in parenting is to help kids recognize that they have awareness and that they know a lot more than most people give them credit for. And you know a lot more than you give yourself credit for. So if we could cultivate that, like, guys, what do you know about this? What if you did know, what would you choose? If you knew what to choose, what would you choose? Okay. Like being at Target or something and they're trying to pick out a gift and it's like, for themselves, right? Which should I choose? Well, what do you know about that? Which is gonna be the choice that works for you? Like over time, in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, which is going to be the toy that you're really happy you chose? Because it's not about getting it right or getting it wrong. Again, the way most of us are parented. Right? Make the right choice. Don't make the wrong choice. And if we teach our kids to function that way, to avoid making the wrong choice and make sure they get it right, it will end up that they have choice paralysis, which is what a lot of us do, right? Like I was in a session yesterday working with someone and he's like, I just don't want to make the wrong choice. I don't want to F it up. I don't, and I was like, have you ever, messed up in your life? And he's like, yeah, all the time. I said, okay, did some of that actually lead to something greater, like greater awareness, greater possibilities, greater relationships? And he's like, yeah. He said, but I really see how much in my life I cut myself off from choosing, other things for fear of messing up. Well, when we parent from right and wrong, this is the good choice, make sure you get it right. That's what we do. We train our kids to try to get it right in someone else's eyes. Instead of, okay, cool. What choice is going to work for you? And looking at, well, what did that choice create? Like, you chose to hit your brother, right? In most people's reality, that's like, that was a bad thing to do, right? Instead, what if we looked at it without judgment and we said, okay, you chose to hit your brother. What did that create? Like, would you choose that again next time? Sometimes they say yes, right? But would you choose that again next time? Like, over time, honey, what's that really going to create? Oh, well, that creates, he's probably going to hit me back. Yeah, are you going to like that? Is that really what you would like to create with him? Or could you find another way of getting what you want? Let's work together to see how you both could get what you want, instead of you hitting him and then him retaliating and hurting you. So looking at choice as not right or wrong, but just it all creates your future. What future would you like to create? Okay. And this works at age 2 or age 22. So we're going to be back in a couple of minutes. And thank you so much for listening. I have more questions to ask your kids, more ideas to work with them, and see you in a moment. Thanks, everybody.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on the Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Would you like to have a life of more clarity and abundance? What's possible for you when you get out of your own way? Connect with Kathy Williams for private coaching, or join her online to transform your relationship with abundance in every area of your life with the Radical Abundance course. Kathy also travels, facilitating radical abundance and access consciousness bars and foundation around the world. She'll be in London, Hawaii, Hilton Head, and other fun locations soon. Visit www.meetkathywilliams.com for a class schedule, to connect with Kathy, or invite her to your region and get some free goodies.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is Kathy Williams, and we're having a discussion today about parenting, 5 tips to make parenting easier. And the first one was destroy and uncreate your relationship every day so you let down the walls of separation that either of you has created so you can create something even greater. The next one is to recognize that your child, no matter their age, is an infinite being just as you are. So they have their own awareness. They make their own choices. You're not actually responsible for their choices. You can shape and mold and coerce even and manipulate. And you are not responsible for their choices, which is fascinating. And then the third one was really to ask, and this goes along with them and their awareness, ask them questions. So I shared the story of asking my son, like, what is this? He had boogers. What is this? What can you do with it? And he said, send it to the earth. And so he did that as a little 2-year-old. Just asking, like, what do you know about this? What's your awareness? And then not to make anyone wrong. So, recognizing, we talked a little bit about, most of us are parented from ideas of right and wrong. Like, don't make the wrong choice, right? Better choose the right college, better choose the right toy at Target, better choose the right thing, right? Get it right. And we learn to function from, like, let me not get this wrong. Let me get it right. Which often causes a lot of conflict in us about choosing. Instead of, wow, every choice I make is creating my future. Right? Imagine for a moment if you were parented that way, where your parents said, you know what, honey, there's not a wrong choice. It's just every choice you make creates either toward the future you desire or away from it, right? Hitting your brother probably creates away from the future you desire. Yeah? Calling me something gnarly probably creates away from the future you desire. Using your manners, being kind, doing your homework creates toward the future you desire. Okay. So every choice has consequences. That's not a punishment idea. It's just like, yeah, there's a result from every choice we make. It creates something. Even if it's just, well, that created more awareness about what not to do. Ever had that? You make a choice and you're like, well, that just created a lot of awareness about what not to do. And that's all right, right? Then you don't have to make yourself wrong for it. It's just like, okay, cool. So there's a useful question to ask in any situation that's like kind of frustrating, challenging, and even when you're judging yourself, and that is, what's the gift in this? And sometimes the gift just is more awareness, right? I got awareness that is not a thing to say to that person, right? Or I got awareness that, I'm not actually gonna tell that person, be vulnerable with that person, or I got awareness that really worked for me. So what's the gift in this? And I recently had a situation that was really challenging for me, and it's like, I looked at the gift. Like, it has been an ongoing situation, and I looked at the gift, and like, there's a huge list of gifts from this situation, right? And so if we could look at like everything that's coming up, even if, like me this morning, you have trouble getting your kid out the door. Right? Today was very much like that. I was laughing. I was like, the irony of 5 tips to make parenting easier, and my kid is being a little obnoxious this morning. And so, like, okay, what does he require right now? So this tip is ask a lot of questions. Like, ask questions of you, ask questions of the universe, ask questions of your child, right? What does he require right now? He actually required that I not just tell him to get in the car, but that I come and physically take him, right? Go with him to the car. What do they require right now? I've found as an invaluable question to ask. And the first, what really got it into my system to ask that is, you know how little kids fall down? And when they do, a lot of times they'll look at you, right? They fall, they hurt themselves either like in a big way or a small way. And then they look at you to see what your response is going to be, right? And if you're like, oh no, then they dramatize it too. And if you're like, oh honey, did you break the sidewalk? Oh no, you're a really strong person. You didn't, but you still didn't break the sidewalk. They'll laugh it off, right? So, and then there are the times when they really are hurt. You know it because you hear that cry, and that is a hurt cry. So I started to ask this question when my son, either one, got hurt, and that is, okay, what do they require of me in this moment? Okay, and that could just be an energy, right? The energy of joking about it, the energy of real concern, the energy of like, oh, I'm getting an ice pack for you now, the energy of holding them. Like, what do they require right now? And by asking that, I don't ask it aloud, I ask it, to myself, then I can tap into that and be that for them. And this question isn't just valuable when, they fall down. It's valuable when they come home from school with some kind of challenge. It's valuable when they're lying in bed and they're like, Mom, I don't feel good. Like, what do they require of me right now? Oh, they actually do require to stay home and rest. Oh no, this is a manipulation. They're trying to just stay home. They require that I find some way to make school better or easier or more fun. What do they require of me right now? And there was a beautiful moment when Koa's school teacher asked that, in not such a way because she doesn't have the same questions I have, but I just thought it was so beautiful. He didn't want to go to school, right? And this was kind of a consistent thing. So I said, honey, is there something about school that you don't like? And he said, recess. And I was like, oh, okay. So I texted his teacher. He goes to a little tiny school, that he was having challenges with recess, or I left her a voicemail or something. And she asked him, she first said to me, well, a lot of the girls are practicing a play, right? And a lot of the boys are older and they're running around and they're a lot faster than he is and stuff like that. So she asked him, what is it that you would really like to do at recess time? And his response surprised us both. He said, I'd like to practice writing. So he did. She got him the lined paper that 6-year-olds use, and he practiced his cursive during recess. And that happened for a couple of weeks. And then he integrated right back into recess, and he was fine. So it's like asking kids questions instead of trying to manipulate them into doing what they, quote, should do, so often creates so much more for all of us. Because imagine if I didn't mention, if I didn't ask, is there something that you don't like about school? Right? He couldn't have told me. He didn't, he likely wouldn't have told me, I don't like recess, Mom, if I hadn't asked. And then I couldn't have told his teacher, hey, he's not loving recess. And then she asked another question. What is it you would like to do during this time? All right? So kids know. And if you're willing, instead of being like the dominating person who, quote, knows, and instead engage them in what would really work, right? How can we what you would like, and me what I would like. Right? So often, then you come to a co-creation that creates greater for all of you. And that's what in Access Consciousness is talked about, the kingdom of we. Meaning it's we all together working to create something greater instead of me or sacrificing me. So I'll give you an example of that. And a lot of people sacrifice themselves as a parent by just trying to give the child what they need. Like, oh no, I have to attend all the soccer games, right? I can't not attend a soccer game. Or, you know, I have a friend who moved off the island of Maui. Friend loves the island of Maui. Moved off the island of Maui because the kid was bored here. Instead of asking, like, well, what would actually create the greatest for all of us? Right? Not just him, not just me, but all of us. Right? How can I find things that aren't, you know, are more stimulating for him here? Or maybe that won't happen. Really explore and ask questions and realize that you don't have to sacrifice you to be a parent. And for a long time, I kind of thought I did, actually. You know, I really love traveling and love facilitating and facilitate. This summer I'll be in London and Vienna and Colorado facilitating, and likely Cincinnati. And for a long time I cut myself off from that. I was like, no, I'm a mom. I have to be here for my kids. Until I started to question that too. Like, okay, well, what would get them what they would like, which is, you know, nurturing, supportive caregiving, and getting to school on time and all the things, you know, work for our family, and get me what I would like. And when I started to, like, every time you ask questions, you open the door to greater possibilities. It's like you're shining the flashlight of your awareness in a particular direction. So you're going to have more awareness in that direction, right? You ask a question, you get more awareness. So I realized that, hey, like, my parents would love to be here, right? My mom would love to be here with the kids, and that allows me to go to San Diego or and facilitate or somewhere else, and then the kids get a break from me too, right? If I'm here and I'm a resentful, bitter mom because I'm not, like, getting juiced, right? I'm not truly being happy, right? Then that's modeling to them something, right? It's modeling I'm, you know, resentful and unhappy and bitter and have to sacrifice for you, and then I'm not going to show up and be as present with them, as grateful for them, as generative and nurturing and loving as I truly can be when I'm filling my own cup too. So it's about we, you know, and for a long time I didn't know that. I was doing, oh, what's best for them, what's best for them, what's best for them. And I'm not saying don't do what's best for them. It's like you have to take into consideration all of you. And I'll give you another example of how I was doing that. Like, when my sons were in preschool, I would drive like 40 minutes to take them to what I thought was like the best preschool. So 40 minutes there and 40 minutes back. And after a while, that got really draining. Like, you know, so what is actually going to create the greatest possibilities? Is it to drive that 40 minutes? Is it to once a week get someone else to drive that? Is it to put them somewhere that's maybe not like quite as stellar as I'd love it to be, but still really good? That's 10 minutes away, right? So we get to look at the possibilities and then ask, like, and what's even available that I haven't considered yet, right? Is there another possibility I haven't even considered? And then, you know, play with that. They're asking, so you get more awareness. So questions. right? What else is available I haven't considered yet? What would work for all of us? What would create the greatest possibilities for all of us? And letting go of your judgments about things. Like my judgment clearly was, no, this school that's 40 minutes away is the best school. I wasn't even asking, well, is there something even better that's closer? Right? Like if I would let go of my points of view about what is the best school, because the best school for one child may be very different from the best school for another child. Like, would there be something he loves that's really nurturing and great for him down here in our town? And maybe there's not, right? But just asking the question will open the door to more. And so in the book, Possibilities in Parenting, I talk about how, like, when my kids were super young, I made Waldorf the right way. Like, that is the right way to parent. That is what's going to produce the best kids, right? And it like drove me crazy, actually. I mean, because I was reading, well, you ought to keep your kids indoors and not stimulate them too much and like go out just once a week. And I got so much cabin fever, I didn't know what to do with myself because I was trying to parent the right way instead of looking at, like, what's the right way for my family? Not what's the right way based on people who don't even know me, who've come up with this philosophy, who have nothing to do with me. Like, what's right for my family? Are there elements of this philosophy that really fit and resonate and feel light and expansive? And then maybe there are elements that feel like, they're smothering me. Because that's how I felt trying to get it right. Whenever we're doing something that's right for others, but not actually truly right for us, it does feel contracted or smothering or challenging. And so just start to look at, like, where am I trying to parent the right way that's not actually right for me or my family? And that takes us to the break. So I'll be back in just a few minutes, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life. And we'll be right back with more tips, including energy flows to use with your kids. Super fun.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Would you like to have a life of more clarity and abundance? What's possible for you when you get out of your own way? Connect with Kathy Williams for private coaching or join her online to transform your relationship with abundance in every area of your life with the Radical Abundance course. Kathy also travels, facilitating radical abundance and access consciousness bars and foundation around the world. She'll be in London, Hawaii, Hilton Head, and other fun locations soon. Visit www.meetkathywilliams.com for a class schedule, to connect with Kathy, or invite her to your region and get some free goodies.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everybody. We've been talking about, or I've been talking about, ways to make parenting easier, from destroying and uncreating your relationship every day to recognizing your child is an infinite being, which takes some of the pressure off you. You're not responsible for their choices. You can influence them. You can advise them, and ultimately they're the chooser for them. Which is sometimes kind of hard to I want them to choose this. But in the end, makes it easier, especially if you're willing to help them realize every choice is creating their future. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. That's polarity. It's like, is it creating toward or away from the future you would like to have? All right. So asking lots of questions, engaging and choosing for we instead of for them and not you, or for you and not them. Engaging awareness of everybody in your choice to make the choices. So now we're going to talk about energy flows. And energy flows are something that's truly amazing when you're aware of them. And at the end of this month, which is April, the last Thursday of the month, I'm going to do a whole show on energy flows because I did a YouTube video about them. And it just led to this is a much greater conversation than a 5 to 10 minute conversation. But we're going to talk about using energy flows with your kids. On April 25th, 2019, I will do a whole Sexy Mom Abundant Life show on energy flows. So these are something that occur naturally, like in interactions on a day-to-day basis. There are energy flows that occur, and if you learn to use them with conscious awareness, you're actually going to be able to sort of orchestrate things better. Okay, so here's what happens a lot. I'm sure you've recognized this. You would like to make a phone call or devote some attention to something that's not your kids, and immediately they demand your full attention. They're in your space and in your face, right? So the reason that happens is because you just cut off your energy to your kids instead of energetically including them in what you're doing. All right, this is really interesting, isn't it? Okay, so I just, I really want to focus on this one thing, meaning I exclude the kids instead of energetically staying expanded, including them, and actually flowing them some energy. Okay, you can just ask, let me flow Bodhi some energy right now. And the cool thing is, you don't have to be in the same room. You don't have to be in the same house. You don't have to be in the same country to do this. Okay, so when I'm traveling, let's say when I'm in London this summer, my kids won't be. And so I can still be in London and just ask to flow them lots of energy. And what it is it's not my energy, it's universal energy. And so it's going to flow through me and through them. Okay, they're going to receive whatever they require. I can do this with kids, with my cat, with my husband. And you can do it right now. So just think of someone you'd like to flow lots of energy. Again, it's not your energy. It's not limited. It's universal energy. And just ask, you can visualize it if you choose. You don't have to breathe any specific way. and just ask to flow them lots of energy right now. So when people are needy, when they're demanding of your attention, whether that's a client, a friend, a child, you can flow them lots of energy. Okay. Now let's say, like my child this morning, they're not listening, right? They're just like, I would rather watch PBS Kids than get in the car. So what you're going to do in that case is pull lots of energy in the other direction. So when I'm flowing energy, I'm flowing through me and to them, right? Through them. When I would like their attention, whether it's my kids or a waiter or whomever, I would like their attention, I'm going to flow energy the opposite direction. So flow energy through them to me, my entire body, and then through me. Okay? So it's again like, hey, I'm after your attention. Okay? So you're flowing energy the opposite way. So when people have barriers up, okay, you're going to flow energy through them and through you. Okay? When people are sucking you, okay, energy vampires even, but we're talking about kids right now who can also suck you dry. You're going to flow energy through you and through them. And again, like I said, these energy flows are things that people actually do naturally, unconsciously a lot of times. However, if you're willing to do it consciously, you can create a greater effect, right? Just like when you're willing to do anything consciously, you can create a greater effect. All right. The other position so we have when people are suckers, when people have barriers, sometimes people are just kind of unneutral. They're not really, they don't have barriers, but they're not really they're just kind of half on, half off. And we'll talk more about this in a couple of weeks, but when they're that, you fill them up, right? You flow some energy to them and then pull them in your direction to get them engaged in helping you. Like, hey guys, come unload the car, please. They're just like, meh, okay, hey, I'm going to give you some energy, and now come with me. Let's do this. Which is, manipulation is an interesting word because it really means to move from place to place. So yes, that's a manipulation. Can you do it if someone's not willing to engage with you? No, right? It's really up to them. However, manipulation has kind of gotten a bad rap, right? It's considered a bad thing, a thing that's wrong to do. Yet kids don't have that point of view, right? A kid is willing to move you from place to place. A kid is willing to manipulate you however they need to. And let's give the example. I mean, super simple example of hey mom, I want a cookie. Can I have a cookie? And you say no. No, not right now. And then they say, well, how about if I eat, an apple first? Then can I have a cookie? And you're like, oh no. And then, okay, well, I'm going to go ask Dad. Right? So they just go and they ask Dad instead. And Dad says no. And so then they come back and they kick and they scream, or before they kick and scream, they might be like, well, how about if I sweep the floor? Or how about if I go clean my room? Then can I have a cookie? Right? Like, they're willing to do whatever it takes to receive what they'd like from you. Right? I will ask, I will beg, I will ask someone else, I will kick and scream, I will bribe, I will whatever it takes. All right? So would you be willing to out-manipulate your kids? Okay? So what energy could you be in order to out-manipulate your kids with total ease? And everywhere you're unwilling to do and be that, would you be willing to let that go? I mean, because a lot of times you're trying to manipulate your kids into doing things that are actually going to work for both of you. Like eating the green beans, or doing the homework, or doing a chore. So would you be willing to beat them at their own game? Would you be willing to out-manipulate your kids? If you didn't have points of view about what manipulation is or isn't and didn't make it wrong, what could you create? All right, everybody. I would love to hear from you about how these tools and tips work for you with your family, what questions you have about them. And the biggest thing I would love to stress is just not making you wrong. Right? People consider this the hardest job in the world. And what if it didn't have to be? Like, what if it was just a co-creation? These are infinite beings who picked you for this role, and you have them in your life, and you guys get to create something really fun together. Constantly learning and expanding awareness for all of us. Right? And what if we didn't actually make it so serious and such a hard thing? What would be possible then? Right? If we let go of everyone else's projection and expectation that it's a really hard job. I mean, even before you have a child, people have all sorts of opinions about how you should do it, right? What kind of birth are you going to have? And are you doing this? And are you doing that? And it's like, thanks for your point of view. I have to choose what's going to work for me and this kid. And each kid is different. So what works for one may not work for another, right? So thanks for your point of view. And not making the person wrong for giving their advice, not having to make them right, just like, is that really what's going to work for my family, for me, for my children? And again, the children may be very different. So, yeah, if we could take the significance and the stress off and just say, hey, I'm doing the best I have, and I have ever increasing awareness, right? Sometimes I get awareness about, well, that didn't work. I wouldn't choose that again. And when you're not judging yourself, you become aware of so many more choices, right? What's the gift in that? Okay, got awareness that, yeah, that's not what I'm going to choose next time. Or maybe I would choose that again. Okay, everybody. So, yeah, again, I'd love to hear from you. You can always reach out at meetkathyWilliams.com. That's MEETKATHY Williams with an S.com. That's also where you can sign up for the Willingness to Have Money class tomorrow. There's also a special, you can get that and the recordings of clearing your points of view about money for just $10 more. And the Art of Flirting, which is this afternoon in just a few minutes. So that's there. And then what else I have coming up is clearing the points of view that keep you from living a life beyond your dreams. Because I know what it's like to feel stuck. I know what it's like to have a life that's kind of meh, and even one that I dreaded waking up for. I dreaded it. Now, like, I live in Hawaii and travel around, and if you'd like to meet me in one of the cities and take a class, I'll be in London and Vienna in June, and here on Maui, you can come in May or in August. I'll be facilitating the bars, Access Bars, and the foundation. And the foundation is 4 days of like relaxing on massage tables, yumminess, letting go of all sorts of limiting beliefs and stuff like that, and receiving tools to create your life. We practice energy flows in the class. my aim, one lady said, Kathy, I'm interested in your class, and it's between you and another facilitator, and I'm just curious, what makes you different? And I said, well, my aim is to make it as practical as possible. So we apply things in class. We do exercises to play with, okay, how could you really use that in your life? So that's what we do with the energy flows, and that's what we do with all sorts of tools and questions and stuff like that. So that when you go home, you know how to use it. You can use it in your life. It's easy for you. It's like, okay, yeah, I have experience with that. So I'll be doing that on Maui in May, in London in June, and in Hawaii on Maui again in August. And you're totally invited. So those classes are at meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. The final thing, not final, but the other thing I have coming up that's not quite out yet, but I have on tap, it's called The Right Time, and it's for writers. So if you have a book in you and you're just, not getting it out into the world, you can come play with us and, unleash that book and get over the blocks. So again, I know I've said it. I always love hearing from you, and you can find me on iTunes if you can't wait a whole week to join on OMTimes again. And I just, let me know how you are. Let me know what you'd like to hear about, and I'll be back next week. So aloha, everybody. May you enjoy the abundance of living this week. Have a great one.